What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? Played hard to get? No thanks. If you're gonna ghost me for days at a time and then get mad when I don't respond in 0.5 seconds, then that's not my problem. She told me her future plans to essentially become a gold digger like her mother. When I laughed it off, she couldn't see what I thought was so funny. Made fun of my smile. This, and making fun of somebody's laugh, are two of the most messed up things that a person can do. It serves no purpose except to make someone feel self-conscious every time they are enjoying themselves. I was casually dating a 19-year-old guy when I was 18. He seemed totally normal until I met him at his house before a date and his mom asked him to take the garbage out before we left. He threw a fit that would embarrass most 3-year-olds, including crying, yelling at his mom, and punching the floor. I pretended that my parents were calling and needed me to come home, blocked his number, and never saw him again. I like to think that mom knew he'd do that and was trying to save you the trouble. We were driving down the road and she threw a Starbucks cup right out the window. Gross. I had a harmless crush on a married friend that I did not signal or act on, ever. I've been the spurned wife before. I kept my distance and did everything short or unfriending him on Facebook. He slid on into my DMs right after my separation became public knowledge. He was still married to his wife. I didn't respond. They are divorced now. She's a really lovely person and deserves so much better. A woman I was talking to was recently divorced and had moved back in with her parents. She already had a child and a couple pets and was talking about getting another pet, and her parents told her no. She chose to go ahead and get another pet anyhow, and basically her parents began pushing her out the door. And it was a stressful situation for her, and I suggested she talk to her folks. However, once she told me she was grown and made her own decisions and did not care about their rules, I suddenly understood and quickly lost interest. Got so drunk at a party that she crapped herself. The smell is really what did it. A guy who was a straight up doppelganger for Bradley Cooper had a massive crush on me. He was funny, smart, educated and accomplished. I could never get over how I had, on 2 separate occasions, seen him piss himself drunk. Just like in A Star Is Born. Gave me a 5-minute lecture on conditions where cheating is okay. Asked me to be their wingman because they had a crush on my best friend. For context, him 6 feet 4 inches, built dude. Me, 5 feet non-built lady. We were hanging out at his house when he jokingly blocked my way when it was time for me to go and wouldn't let me pass. I asked him to let me by. When he wouldn't, I told him I was uncomfortable and he called me a crazy itch. That was the end of that for me. She generalized everyone. She was also such a itch to everyone that she didn't understand. He plays video games? Wow, when do you think he'll move out of his mother's basement? Wow, she wears so much makeup, can you imagine what she's hiding under that face? Just such a mean-spirited person, and it completely turned me off. 2 days after our first date, she showed up at my work with a pan of homemade lasagna, an ice cream making machine for my kids and all kinds of groceries. I was a single dad at the time and I guess it was some sort of care package for me. I also work about 2 hours from where she lives. When I said she didn't have to do that, she started to cry. Bit of a red flag. Called me a sexist for pointing out that she was improperly and dangerously using a power saw. I mean, I get that a lot of guys probably talk down to women using tools, but for duck's sake, she was so close to losing a hand or worse. Edit. In her defense, there was a guy there who had been constantly asking to take over what she was doing even when she was doing fine. So I'm sure she was pretty sick of it by then. There is definitely a lot sexism towards women doing construction related things. It was the disregard for personal safety that got me. He would ask me questions about myself, then cut me off in the middle of my answer to talk about himself. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? I think I'd like telekinesis because I have a friend like that, and my cousin does this often too. It's like they bring it up so they can talk about it, but don't realize that you can just say what you want to say instead of bait and switching with who gets to talk. I love them both dearly, but it's so annoying. Guy was academic, hygienic, and sweet. Treated waitstaff appropriately. Spoke formally but still funny. Shared things in common with me. Perfect gentleman. Date ended 10 out of 10. While driving me home, at a stoplight, pointed to a homeless man crossing the street, said I would stop my car for anybody crossing the street, just not homeless men. Where do they have to be? They're in no hurry. Me. Ghosted him like right after he dropped me off. Bragged about how she was leading on a few guys so she always had a backup. Fatty yikes. I went on 2 dates with a girl when I was in college. She was wonderful but immediately wanted to be official and started drafting Instagram posts about us. She wanted to spend every day together and have sleepovers every night. It was so out of nowhere and we literally knew nothing about one another. I tried to look past it but she asked me to be her first and I got uncomfortable. She seemed naive and I didn't want to take advantage. I suggested we take things slow and she took offense. I cut things off and her reaction was super childish. All of this in a 3-week period. Sweet girl but the pacing was off. I was having a party and the drinks were flowing. Went to check on her cause she had disappeared for a while. As I open the door, I see her sitting on a small wastebasket taking a crap in my bedroom. I couldn't get that picture out of my head. I know I've done my fair share of dumb stuff, but still couldn't forget it. Poured lemonade on my head in the middle of a fireworks show. She thought it was flirty and cute. I had a crush on a guy in high school who was a little bit of a rebel. Nothing serious but definitely had a bad boy thing going on. One day in class the teacher told him to do something minor and he flipped out. Basically had a temper tantrum and refused. Totally killed all interest by being an a-hole for no reason. I've told this story before, but when I was about 8 years old we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. During our lunch break I decided to wander off to the gift shop and see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class and I saw this ladybug ring for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop, so I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends which made me more nervous, but I found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now, that completely messed my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her too giving it to her in front of her friends, which is why she reacted that way, but whatever the case, it's probably the most embarrassed I have been in my life and it definitely made me lose interest in her. We would be great in person. Both of us would have a laugh and genuinely had an amazing connection. But trying to get a text back takes days. It's really difficult to arrange to spend more time together when she barely replies to me. I massively lost interest after this. Co-worker at work had just a beautiful energy, absolutely lovely to be around, always smiling at everyone, and she would laugh at my jokes. And she made some comments from time to time that made me feel validated and understood, which was very flattering, like she guessed my passions in life and told them to me, with a big smile while looking me in the eyes, and I'm a reserved guy who doesn't share that stuff. All just very lovely. One day we're in the break room and she's talking to another guy the same way and I'm consciously talking myself out of being jealous. You're not dating or anything. You don't even have her cell phone number. She's allowed to be lovely with other people. Now come on, no reason to be jealous. Then when the guy leaves she turns to the girl next to her and says, "God, I hate that guy," and I had just been jealous that she was treating him exactly like she treats me. I still feel foolish when I think about it, like does she like me or hate me? Back in college I was seeing a girl casually. Whenever we'd text, she'd take hours to respond to any message. It wasn't a big deal, since most of the time it was just chatting or setting plans for the following weekend or something. It was a little annoying because it'd take a full day or two to set up plans because of the slow responses, but whatever. I'm a bad texter so I can't really judge someone for that. But I started to notice that when we hung out together, she'd immediately respond back to any and every text she got. She had some loud song as the ringtone that played for like 15 seconds, and set it so that her camera LED would flash constantly while it rang. Totally obnoxious and made me really notice how often she texted. I casually asked her who she was texting one time and it was just some friend from school that had sent her a meme. After that I realized it wasn't going to work. Being a slow texter is fine. Constantly texting while hanging out was annoying, but not a deal breaker, especially if we were just chilling at one of our houses. But the realization that this person who was glued to her phone but didn't feel like it was a priority to respond back to my texts made me feel unimportant, so I kinda just drifted away. We stayed friends because we shared the same group of friends and it wasn't awkward or anything. I just stopped trying to do things with just the two of us. Want to be featured in the next video? Caption this in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos and don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed it.